Hello everybody, this is Algebra 2, Chapter 11, Lesson 6 on analyzing data. So here are objectives for the day. We're going to calculate measures of central tendency. Those are things that tend to be in the middle, like mean, median, mode, and then range is how dispersed our data is. Then we're also going to draw and interpret box and whisker plots. So let's get started just reviewing what our measures of central tendency are. So first we have just a measure of central tendency means it's the middle of a data set. So the first one is the mean. The mean is the average of our data. So we take and add together all the numbers in our data set and then we divide by however many numbers we added together. Next we have the median. The median is where you take a list of numbers and you arrange them from smallest to largest, and then you kind of like check off the ends until you get to the number that's in the middle. Or if you get to there are two numbers in the middle, if it's an even number of items in your data set, then you're going to take the average of those two in the middle. The mode is the one that happens the most often or the most frequently. And then if you have two modes that are the same, this is what's called bimodal. It just means like you have two 2's and you have two 6's. So they're both the mode. And then we also have the range. The range is the difference between the largest number and the smallest number. So you just find those two and you subtract them and that gives you the range. So you may have heard the song, hold on, what is it? Mode's the most, average is the mean, median, the one that's in between. Okay, that might help you remember. Otherwise, I have this poem here. I'll come back to Outlier in a second. Hey diddle diddle, the median's the middle. You add and divide for the mean. The mode is the one that you see the most, and the range is the difference between. So that might help you remember which one is which. I can teach you some tricks in class tomorrow. The last one we have is an outlier. An outlier is one number that's vastly different from all the other numbers. It's usually pretty easy to pick out of a data set. Alright, so first we're going to find some measures of central tendency given this frequency table. We're talking about students who receive job offers within 2 months of graduating with a mathematics degree from a small college. We're going to find the mean, the median, and the mode. Okay, so the first thing we can do is we can go ahead and rewrite this so that we take this frequency and we write out how many times it happens for the number. So like 2 students got 0 job offers, so we would have 2 zeros. We have a 0 and a 0 to represent those 2 non-job offers. Okay, and then we have 2 that were offered 1 job, so we'd write 2 ones. We had 4 students that were offered 2 jobs. So we'd write 1, 2, 3, 4 2's. And then we have 5 3's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 2 4's. 4, 4. Okay, so this is one way in order to find out. I'm going to teach you a shortcut here in a second for where you have really long lists, like one in your homework. Okay, so we need to find the mean, the median, and the mode. So let's see, I'm just going to write them down here. Mean, median, mode. It doesn't ask for the range. Okay, so the easiest one to figure out is the mode. Well, there are 5 students who received 3 job offers. That one's the most. So we have a 3 here. To find the median, you just kind of take and cross off the ends until you get to where you're in the middle. Just don't forget which side you're on. Okay, and then we're left with a 2 as our median. Now to find the mean, you take all of the numbers that are here and you add them together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, so I added all those numbers together and I got 33 out of, and I counted and there are 15 numbers. So if we take and divide that, we get 2.2 is what our mean is. So that's how we find mean, median, mode. Also, what you could do is you could say, well, I need to find the mean out of all of these, and without writing them all out, you could take and multiply them all together. So multiply the frequency times the number of offers. So we have 2 times 0, 2 times 1, 2 times 4, 5 times 3, 4 times 2. Multiply them, add them all together, and divide by your 15. That'll also work. And then if you're doing it this way, to find your median, what you would do is you say, well, I have 15 numbers. Divide that by 2 is 7.5. So I'm looking for the 8th number. That's going to give me my median. So you just have to count. You have 2 plus 2 is 4. We're looking at our frequency now. 4 plus 4 is 8. So that means our median has to be a 2 because that falls within the range of 8. All right. That's just those. Identifying an outlier. Remember, an outlier is a number that's vastly different from the other ones. So here are numbers that we're looking at right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rewrite them in order from least to greatest. So I have 56, 59, another 59, 2 65s, a 73, and a 98. And this one is pretty obvious which one the outlier is, but mathematically speaking, what you can do is find the difference between each one of these to see which one has the greatest difference, and those are going to be your outliers. So let's see, this has a difference of 3, difference of 0, that's a difference of 6, difference of 0, that one is a difference of 8, and then this one is a difference of 25. Well, obviously, the 25 is way out there. I might even question this difference of 8, but for sure, 98 would be an outlier. And moving on. Okay, so I want you to just consider these for a minute. Suppose that we use our data from the question before. I want you to think about the fact, if we were talking about averages of things, if we were talking about the average water temperature in a lake at 7 different locations, would you want to include the 98 or not include the 98 in your data? And then also for customers at a restaurant each night of the week, I want you to think about that one for a second. Go ahead and pause the video. No, really, you need to pause the video. Did you pause it? Okay, I want you to pause the video, think about whether or not you would include the outliers. Okay, so if we're thinking about our set of data, we had the numbers 56, 59, 59, 65, 65, oops, 73, and 98. Okay, if we were trying to find average water temperature in a lake at 7 different locations, we might possibly get these readings. Where would you get 98? Well, you get 98 like on the beach, by the sand where the water's really shallow and it's really still. That's probably not going to give you an accurate reading for the rest of the lake, so I would exclude the 98 for when you're talking about the different temperatures in a lake. But if you're talking about the number of customers in a restaurant each night of the week, is it possible that there's one night a week that you have more customers? Well, absolutely. What is the most commonly or most common night that people go out to eat? Well, it's on Friday because, you know, they got paid, it's the end of the week, they want a break. So if you're thinking about like ordering food for the next week, you definitely wouldn't want to exclude this outlier because that's going to be your busiest night. You're going to need to make sure that you have food. Okay, so moving on. Box-and-Whisker plots. These are just ways to graph data. This is what they look like. And you need 5 pieces of information in order to make a Box-and-Whisker plot. You need your minimum and your maximum, which are really easy to find. Your median is your middle, and then your quartile 1 and quartile 3 are going to be where you divide your data up into 4 parts. So you're going to take the median and split it in half again on both sides. So let's go ahead and do a couple of those. So this one, here's our data. So we're going to make a Box-and-Whisker plot, but the first thing we need to do is we need to rearrange this data in order from least to greatest. So our smallest number is 75, then we have 80, then there's 125, 126, 135, there's 2 140s, and then there's 1 350. Okay, so this is the data that we're going to use. We need to find the minimum, we're I don't know why I just wrote an X there. Great. The minimum, quartile 1, the median, quartile 3, and then the maximum. Now we're going to take and display this along a number line. We're going from 75 to 350, so I'm probably going to do units of 50 to make my life a little bit easier. 150. There we go. Okay, so here's our number line that we're going to use in order to put our box and whisker plot on. So once we have the information, it gets really easy to fill it in. So first thing we're going to do is find our minimum. That's our smallest number, which we've already written them in order, so it's 75. Maximum is our biggest number, which is 350. Okay, so I'm going to put dots at 75 and 350. These are the ends of my box and whisker plot. Now what I'm going to do to find the median next is I'm going to split this data in half. So I'm going to kind of tick off the outsides until I get to the middle. Well, I have two numbers in the middle. Okay, when we have two numbers in the middle, what we're going to do is take the average. So I'm going to add together 126 and 135, and I get 261. I take that 261 and divide it by 2. That gives me my median, 130.5. Okay, now I need to take and divide that into 4 parts. So this is divided into 2, so I need to take and divide it again. So I'm going to look at these numbers here, 75, 126, and then 80, 125. I need to find again in the middle. So 80 plus 125 is 205. Take and divide that by 2, and I get 102.5. To find my quartile 3, I'm going to divide the right half. So 135 and 350, and then I have 140, 140. Well, halfway in between a number and itself is both the number and itself. Okay, great. Okay, now I'm going to take and just make hash marks at each one of these spots. Okay, connect them to make a box, and then I'm going to draw the whiskers on. So there's our box and whisker plot. Okay, what we're going to do next though is, because of this huge whisker that we have here, what it means is we have an outlier. Well, obviously we have an outlier, that 350. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the 350 and see what happens to my data. It's going to change. So I'm just going to kind of erase this and try to keep as much as possible. Here we go, and then I'm going to grab a different color. That way we can try and keep our colors separate. Okay, so now I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers that I'm going to use. So I'm going to cut it in half by taking off the outsides. Okay, that leaves me with a median of 126. My minimum stayed the same, 75. My maximum is now 140. And then since I use 126, I'm not going to use it again. So I'm going to divide the left half the left side of the data in half. That gives me 80. I'm going to divide the right side in half. That gives me 140. Then I graph point at 170 or 75, line at 80, line at 126, line at 140, and then also a dot at 140. That's exciting. Okay, so this one, it shows that our data is less spread out, more condensed, which is actually kind of really good. This is kind of what you want for data. All right, so we did all those things. Okay, so if you look at a box and whisker plot like this one here, it has Miami, Florida, and New Orleans. What you're going to notice is some different things. This Miami, the rainfall in Miami is way more spread out. And it kind of has like a little bit longer thing there, the whisker. So it might mean we possibly have an outlier. But if you look at New Orleans has a lot smaller range. This is longer, which means we have a bigger outlier, but this box right here is what I'm interested in. This has a huge box right here, which means our data is really spread out, whereas this box right here being smaller, sorry, I just kind of wrote all over it. That box being smaller right there kind of means that our data is more condensed, so that means there's more consistent rainfall in New Orleans than there is in Miami. Okay. Last thing we're going to talk about is finding percentiles. So here's what we're gonna do is I'm gonna teach you how to find a percentile rank. There's a list of midterms for test scores in Spanish. So I'm gonna pause the video really quick and I'm going to rearrange these in order from least to greatest. It's gonna be magic. Hold on. Okay, just like magic, they're already in order. Whee! Okay, but I counted, and there are 20 students who took the test. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the total number, 20, and multiply it times our percentage. We want the 65th percentile, so we multiply by 0.65. 20 times 0.65 is 13. So what we're looking for is to find out what is the 13th test score. So I just go through and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so my answer is 82. So the score of 82 would be in the 65th percentile. And then as percentiles get bigger, you're going to go higher up the list. All right, and that does it for today. I hope that you understood. I hope that everything is good, and I'll see you tomorrow.